Hi, and welcome to Yen Radio TV with your guest host, Skye Dunn and David Dunn. Remember, you can always check out Yen Radio TV at yenradiotv.com. And I am Skye, and I have with me my amazing husband, David. Mm-hmm. We're here today on our anniversary to share with you what we think are the importance of memories and how to bring those memories about. So we'll also be sharing some of our very special memories and even some painful ones. The first thing I want to share is that today is our anniversary. We have 2 wedding anniversaries. The first one was yesterday. We were married in an ancient stone circle in Ireland. It was in the town of Kilkeel, so it was in Kilkeel, County Cork. We were married with 3 of my friends in Ireland, and 3 of my friends from the States came to join us. We had 5 cows that showed up in the pasture that day, because if you know anything about standing stones in Europe, they're usually in pastures. So we had 5 cows. I was wearing a pair of black wellies, which are rain boots, under my wedding dress, and a pair of yoga pants. And it was a beautiful day. We had 7 rainbows that followed us that day after the wedding. It was absolutely spectacular, and the cows made it for me.
Well, I think you made it for me.
Well, I mean, yeah, the cows were an extra bonus, I think. But we got married last year, which was a year and a day later, in Atlanta, so that our friends and family could be there. So we have 2 wedding anniversaries.
Yeah. The first was like our spiritual, personal, and the other one was more the social, family type thing, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
Obviously, the first one is the one that holds the most precious memories for both of us, I could say.
Yeah, I would definitely say that.
Yeah, but they're both, both important, of course.
Very important.
Yeah.
So we want to talk about those things because it's the memories that hold together the fabric, well, of your relationships, and a lot of times, or they can be what destroys it.
Yeah, I mean, it's the direction, the plot points of the story of who you are and the story of who you are with your partner. These are the things that you hopefully look back on, and it's something that you build on and something that you savor, and it weaves in and out of all these other different memories to form this view, this perspective of who you are with your partner, all the different sides of you, and just what they mean to you. We're going to be talking about pretty much new memories, old memories, but then how to protect and savor old memories, and also how to repair and heal stressful or traumatic old memories. And then also how to rewrite those memories with new ones. Skye, you just lived this today.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
Okay, so my little story today, I had to go to the dentist. I'm terrified of dentists because virtually every dental experience I've had has been traumatic. I had one dentist that I grew up with like to put my head on his belly while he was working on me. Felt a little molesty to me. Definitely is not ethical or professional. And as one that had been molested as a child, definitely not a good memory for me. Undergrad, had to have wisdom teeth taken out. Just horrible, horrible experience. The guy had no compassion, yelled at me. Another dentist actually cut my tongue 3 times and accused me of being the problem. So today, on my way to the dentist, which I already knew I was anxious about, I had my first full-fledged anxiety attack. And it was all based on memories, traumatic memories. So PTSD from the dentist. So David wound up having to take me to the dentist. I couldn't drive. We lived just outside D.C., and there was no way I was driving into D.C. So he took me. I was panicking and crying the entire way. But when I got to the dental office, they changed everything for me. They were so compassionate and so understanding and so helpful, and they gave me some of the box rescue remedies to help with my anxiety. I refused to take the Xanax my father-in-law offered me. Not much into chemical pills. So they helped me rewrite some of those memories, so my trauma was a little less. Next time I can go to the dentist without the attack, but still with a friend. Maybe David can stay at work that day. I don't have to take him. But just those kind of things, it was very vivid for me, every one of those previous experiences, and that's what showed up and literally scared the shit out of me today.
Yeah.
I was literally on the ground outside his office in a parking lot, just sitting there, and I'm not one of those people that just crumbles or that feels a lot of stress. I'm pretty good at working with it because of my past. But this one just slayed me, and so there's no embarrassment in being slayed by it.
And I was telling her this earlier, that being strong does not mean you're invulnerable. Being strong does not mean you never have to face something that takes you to your knees. Being strong is facing those things with the right type of heart, the right type of spirit, and being able to face it even if you get buried by it, and then finding a way somehow to get back up and to turn your face to something new, to say, okay, I made it through, and now what else do you have for me? Let's get this positive. It's like stepping out of the cave and then seeing the sunlight and then stepping forward into that light and walking through. And you're not as much in a cave as you were before. I mean, because there's a lot of things that went on in this experience she had today. There's so many memories of not just of her voice not being heard, of her being marginalized, of people saying that you're too dramatic, it's your fault. There's so many things where this person had all this pain and all these things being done to her, or having to deal with something and not getting any help, and also not having any support by anyone being there for her. So many times there were, oh, I got something else to do, I can't take you, so she'd have to take herself, and she's on whatever they give you, Novocaine, painkillers, whatever, trying to make it home, and then being left home alone, and then all these things, this abandonment, this lack of voice, and all these things came up. Because when you go through things, your body stores it, because it's saying, okay, this is a pattern, this has happened to me a lot of times, so when I get into this environment again, this same situation, I'm going to react this way because this is what I'm anticipating. And it's so hard to have all these painful things that your body is anticipating, and to go through it, to face it all, without taking any drugs to numb yourself, and then to say, okay, body, we're going to get through this, but then I'm going to show you something different. It can be different. And then that changes the pattern of your anticipation. It changes the pattern. It literally changes what's inside you, of what is being stored, and how you're reacting, and who you are. And she went through that today. She went through it like a goddess. Like because she had so many opportunities where she could be like, oh, this is too much. She also had opportunities where she could have pushed and said, oh, I can do this by myself, I don't need anybody. Like, because that's what other people told her, that you just have to do this yourself. And she got to see that she can be strong, she can have support, she can have a dentist, an authority figure in this time that listens to her, that pays attention to what is important to her and is empathetic. So many different things happened today that changed the tracks, the railings of where the past normally would go and where she's going to now. And it's just like, this is a thing that everybody goes through. Everybody has to understand, because this is how you change. This is how you adapt. This is how you rewrite who you are and where you're going. And she went through it so gracefully.
Thank you, baby.
Yeah, you did. And there were so many times where I saw the past rear up, where you felt like you needed to explain, where you felt like, I'm not crazy because I'm going through this, and then you got to see it from so many other people who said, no, you're still strong, you're still human, other people go through this, you're not crazy, nothing is wrong with you for being in pain and needing help. And then you can be strong while also being supported. You know, there were times when she's saying, oh, I'm so sorry that I need you to come with me. Oh, I'm being a baby because I need your help. I said, no, you're doing this yourself. I'm not doing this for you. I'm being there with you. And you are so strong, and you're able to do that, and you're also able to do that with support. And that meant a lot for me, and it meant a lot for her, I know.
It definitely did. It helped to change so much of my trauma. We'd known we were going to talk about memories for the past couple of weeks, I guess. We knew this was our anniversary show. We're going to talk about memories. And lo and behold, the universe wants to show me how profound that can actually be. So I got to rewrite a lot of the trauma today. And I have spent the last few years rewriting trauma in my head already. I reprogram my neural pathways. I create new ones so that I don't keep going down the same pathway over and over and over, which is such a groove in our brain that just keeps directing back the same feelings, the same memories, the same pains. Everything's still the same right there. I take it and I begin to focus my attention to I'm creating a new pathway. And then I just take my attention off that old memory, not that it didn't happen, because it happened, but I can reassert myself in a different programming, and I create new ways of looking at that memory. I find ways that I learn or ways that I can teach from that, and ways that it's taught me and ways that it's healed me. And then once I begin to really do that, and I reclaim my memories, and then now I'm on a different path, and it's not as bogged down like today was for me. And having David there was such a blessing, because even at the dentist office, I kept having the tension, and I could feel it all the way up into the tops of my cheekbones. It was right up by my temples, and I couldn't hardly speak. My lips were really tight from the muscles, and so there's a good vision of what bad memories can do to traumatize us, and then how we shifted them. So the way these things got shifted for me today, the dentist was incredible. If I had him as a dentist when I was younger, I would not have any of these traumas. So it's the people that are around you, or how are they treating you? How are you treating them? Is there a common courtesy? Is there compassion? Is there understanding? Are there boundaries? Are there the things that you need to have healthy memories? And that dental office gave that to me today.
Yeah.
Every one of the dental assistants that came up to me, they were either giving me the box remedy, or they were helping me hold my stones. They were holding my hand. They were cheering me on. It was such a vastly different experience. And that's, with that big of a story, now I want us to really begin to focus on our relationship memories and what we do.
Well, we gotta stop for a second, because what this is, and really this is the show, is how do you heal PTSD? Because that's what this is. And if you listen to what she was saying, look at what set the stage. Okay, you have a past memory, you have a past bad experience that creates this trauma. And in that memory, you have the environment, the place you were in, you got the people, how they treated you, and then you have you, how you felt about it and how you responded. And now, in that bad memory, each one of those items, each one of those variables has a particular vibration. And when you are going into a new memory, a new experience, you have to face the resistance, the effect, the stress, the tension of every single one of those things pulling you into this is what's about to happen. And then when you go into this new memory, every single one of those things is a different vibration with a different, that's incongruent to the old one. So every time her body would react and say, this is what's going to happen, she had a person being a mirror to say, no, this is something else. And what that did is it invalidated the old memory. It invalidated the associations, the connections, the energetic couplings of all these bad memories being connected together and forming this response that she's having. It invalidated those, and what that happens is it pushes that out of your body. And what happens then is these good things become validated, these good things become accepted and internalized, and they stick inside you. And these are the new tracks, these are the new pathways like she was talking about. And that is how you cure. That's how you change PTSD naturally.
Right.
And it was a big thing. There was a moment there where it was really bad, and my dad was trying to help. He said, if you need something to calm you down, we can give you a Xanax. And she said no. Her instinct was to say no. And the reason why that is because she knew that that would numb the experience. That would numb it would rob the color and the chemistry and the vibrancy of the energy of the new experience and shifting the pathway, because the color and the experience, the vibrancy, creates an impact which gets inside you. So if you're going through a negative experience, or you're going through the effect of your negative memories, and it gets so much that you want to numb yourself. Now, obviously, there's a line where it's so bad that you can't function.
You need the medication.
Right. But if you're in a phase where you're like, okay, I'm going to go through this to grow, to adapt and change, you want to do as little as you can to numb yourself so you can feel it in a constructive way, and then leave yourself open for this new pathway so that you're feeling that and you're taking it and it has that impact. I'm sorry to cut you off before.
Okay.
You're saying you wanted to talk about the relationship stuff.
Yeah.
One thing that's huge is, talking about from a PTSD perspective, is all the sexual trauma that you had. And what happened in those things is you had those people treating you a certain way. And then in our relationship, I became the new mirror to either invalidate or validate all those shitty things those people did to you and how you responded. And I became something that says, no, this is the other way. This is how I see you. This is how healthy relationships work. And then you got to just day by day slowly take that in and internalize it, and then push away the old ones. And it's so interesting to see it from my perspective, because I'm not just seeing how she is in that moment and then how she's changing. I'm also seeing how her dreams change, because the dream is exactly like we were talking about before. It's got the environment, it's got the people. It sets this little stage for you and your body to play out these subconscious patterns that we have inside us. And as she grows, as she changes, we spend time together rewriting these pathways, these memories. The dude in the dream would change. The way he acted would change. The way she reacted would change. It's so much more empowering now. The guy is so much less of an asshole. The people before has become all blurred. It's showing you can actually look at your dreams and see, wow, I can see in real time how I'm shifting and changing and the real effect it's having inside me. And to me, that is just so amazing, because it's rare that you see a person that does that. And it's even rare to have like a front row seat to a person changing and increasing and creating this healthy new world for herself.
Well, for me, it came down to I didn't want to feel that way anymore.
Yeah.
And I saw other people that didn't have those feelings, that didn't feel lost, and that they had to constantly be advocating for themselves, or they had to constantly walk around with a knife or something to try to protect themselves, which I did. Mm-hmm. So when I saw that other people were living really happy, free lives, not being encumbered by painful past. At first, I was very bitter and resentful because I only knew my painful past. And I would try so hard to create new memories, but I was still hanging around the same kind of people that were continuing to work. Yeah, that whole path, that whole process. They were still bringing about the same pain. It was still the same cycle. It was just different players playing the same game.
Yeah.
So it wasn't until I realized that I got to choose. And it took me 40 years to figure that out. But it took me up until when I started to figure it out, and I started creating new experiences for myself. And I was doing some. I've always been a traveler, so I like to go and do things, but I decided I needed to start taking more trips to Europe. So I started creating new memories that way, started meeting more people, was broadening my horizons a little more, and then I moved away from Georgia, moved up to Omega Institute and worked as a seasonal staff there for 2 years while I was working on my master's in counseling, created more memories, saw new ways to do things, and when I started with shamanism, I was able to actually go, oh, that's what I'm doing. I was doing what they were teaching me. I had already been doing that, to letting go of the memories and creating the new ones. And that's the thing. When you start to create new memories, even if some of the old ones are still kind of hanging on, it's almost like there's a switch you have to flip inside yourself that says, okay, these memories were true. They're valid. They happened. However, they're causing me torment 30 years later, 20 years later, 2 years later, whatever it happens to be. They're causing me torment now. I refuse to allow my memories to abuse me. Because anytime you think on something, in your mind, like, you know it's a memory, but your mind, your heart, all of that, your adrenaline, doesn't know it's a memory. It thinks it's happening again. So your body begins to go through that same stressor all over again, which is what brought about my anxiety attack earlier today. So it becomes something that you say, no, let me just clean this closet out and shut the door on it. Let me burn it down. And you start, then I can have the memories. Like, I have memories of my father now that are actually sweet. I remember when he was a good dad. I remember some places where my mom was a really good mom. And my brother, who has his own issues, like, I remember what a great brother he is, and I'm starting to see that man come back around. And when I was able to pull myself away from the pain enough to see the good things, that's when I knew my healing had really started taking place. And so that's what I want us to talking about today, is how to create new memories and how those are important. And I want to make the statement, though, if you're in a space and you know you cannot handle that space and you have been given a prescription by your doctor and you know what you need to do, take care of yourself. I don't have a prescription to that. I did not want to take it. I don't like to feel numb. That's me. But if you know it's something your doctor has said you really need and you know you need it in that moment, please listen to your own intuition and don't feel guilty about taking something that's only going to help you if that's what you need.
Yeah, and keep in mind that this woman has been doing work for years and years, and when you do this work, when you face and you adapt these things, you grow more resilient. And what I mean by resilient is you're able to handle more without breaking. You know, it hits you, you absorb it, and it may knock you to your knees, but it doesn't make you collapse. And that resiliency grows the more you walk through these barriers, these Pandora's box, where you open it up and all this shit comes through and you have to face your monsters and your demons to find that thread of hope at the end, at the bottom of that box. And the more you do that, the more resilient you come. And just, if you listen to what she was saying when she was describing her story of being able to change these things, I mean, you see that the variables, you got the environment, you got the you, and you got the people around you. A lot of times what she mentioned is when she left Georgia, she went up to New York and Omega. That changed the environment. When she wanted to say enough was enough, she would go to Europe. That changed the environment. That gives you a place to breathe. Because all three of those things that I mentioned, the environment, the people, and you, those are anchors. Those are anchors in a specific pattern. And when you change those anchors, you change the pattern. And that's what she did. She was able to change it by going to Europe. That gave her a little bit of space to breathe, then to work on herself, which would change the anchor inside her. But also at the same time, she's in Europe. She's obviously around different people who don't have these habits or categories they've already slotted her in and treating her a certain way. So she gets a whole blank slate. She gets a chance to create something new without all this old stuff pulling on you. And keep that in mind, because if you're in a place where you're like, God, I'm tired of this, I want to change, look at what you can change. How can I change these anchors? You may not be able to change the people around you at this moment, so you can work on your environment. You may not be able to change your environment, so you can work on the people. And then even if those two aren't working, you can always work on yourself.
You can always change your thoughts.
Yeah.
And if you can't manage to go somewhere like Europe or across the street, you can sit outside with a tree. Just anything to get another anchor of peace
Yeah.
Just something outside yourself, whether it's writing down what's going on or anything that helps you to get outside of that space. And one thing that is really good is creating new memories for yourself. And if you're in a partnership, of course, it's not always easy to create good memories. You know, we're dealing with life. You're dealing with, you know, your career, possibly kids, the car, health, all kinds of things factor in. But it's finding those little moments. Like for David and I, Saturdays are pretty much a wash. Our house is just...
It's recuperation.
Yeah, it's just a wash. So, like, for Sundays, and I see that he actually put it in our notes, our Sunday mornings are so peaceful. Lionel Richie, it was Lionel Richie, it wasn't Stevie Wonder, it was Lionel Richie. Easy Sunday mornings. It's just, we enjoy talking, we enjoy sitting, we enjoy the simple of that. Find things that are interesting. When we're on trips together or we're doing things, we're always talking, whether we're talking about memories, which are a huge part of every conversation I think anybody has.
Yeah, maybe it becomes your inside jokes, the stories you tell, or remember when we did this, or, oh, this is like that one time, or you got an anniversary coming up, so you're obviously going to talk about how that was, and, you know, they all build on each other, like, you know, little Jenga blocks that don't fall down, hopefully. So.
Well, like I told him tonight, one of my favorite memories of him, and he had no idea. This was 4 years ago. He flew into Atlanta, and we were going to drive my car up here. I had just gotten back from 2 months in Europe. And he was coming up the escalators to the Atlanta airport, and he was holding a bouquet of flowers. Mm-hmm. And it meant so much for me. But I didn't know how to tell him that then. I was still dealing with so much and trying to figure out. It was just like, oh, thank you. That's so sweet that you brought flowers. But 4 years later, yeah, it's been 4 years now. 4 years later, I tell him that that was a really beautiful memory. And it was a stressful time for both of us. Mm-hmm. So it's finding the beauty in every day. You know, it's you know the old story of a cake tastes really good, but if you take each ingredient by itself, it's not so great. But when you put it all together, it makes this wonderful, tasty, calorie-ridden, awesome, yummy, delicious thing. And to me, that's what memories are. Like, you don't just take the eggs and go, this is my memory. You're like, oh, but that cake was so good. All that other stuff would have been horrible, but it came together in this.
Yeah, well, yeah, like it's all those threads form a tapestry. Because there's so many things where you're like, in the moment, you're like, God, this sucks. But like when you look back later, it forms something because then you see, like, oh, there's something precious here. Like, I remember a time, it was like, it's Thanksgiving, but it's like 2 o'clock in the morning. I get a call from my brother. He's been arrested. His car is in some project somewhere, abandoned. There's some people that have the keys. We have to drive at 2 o'clock in the morning to this dangerous-ass place, find the car, find the people who have the keys, somehow keep them from fighting and attacking us, driving them, and she's got a knife in her pocket the whole time, just being Miss Southern, just charming the pants off of everybody, bringing peace to the whole thing so we can drop these people off, get the keys, come back, get home at 5 o'clock in the morning, and then somehow have a Thanksgiving with some people. And, like, that is stressful. Like that, I hated that night. But now it means so much to me because not only is that a thing where I saw this woman was with me every step of the way, I got to see a side of her, this little warrior princess, you know, just being this Miss Diplomatic, but then having a knife in her hand if need be to protect herself. And then these are the memories where you get to see all the different sides of, like, the person you're with. Like, you get to see the person who will stand up for you. You get to see the person that, at a drop of a hat, will fly across the country to be there with you because you're sick. You get to see the person that you tell everything that you're ashamed of, everything that you bust on yourself, that you dump on yourself about. You get to tell them, and then they accept you and they love you. Like, these are the things that at the time they're so stressful or they hurt so much, but then they form these beautiful foundations in this story of who you are. And it's very interesting when you spend time going across these memories and you see how they change in hindsight. Then you get to see what memories really mean something to you, what is precious. Because there's so many stuff that I'd chase in the past, or I'd be like, oh, I want to do this, and this is so awesome, I can't wait to do it. And then 2 years later, 3 years later, I don't remember a single damn thing about it. It didn't matter. It was disposable. And then you get to see the difference between stimulation and meaning. It means something. And that then changes how you react towards the future.
Mm-hmm. Because our memories are those deep, beautiful moments that hold the fabric and connection of us together. Those are the things that teach us, that remind us, that help instill that love and beauty. And that's why it's so important to pay attention to the memories that we're making as individuals and as couples, because it's all part of the foundation and fabric of who we are. When we talk about making loving memories together, we're talking about something that might have nothing to do with anything anyone else likes. But it's something that we enjoy. Just the fact that he makes the sweet tea sometimes, or most of the time, that's beautiful for me. When he shows up with this cute little look on his face, and he's like a little boy with, I got a new pair of purple wellies for when I go back to Europe in a couple of weeks, and I was like, oh, and he's all like, is she going to like it? Is she going to like it? And there's all that anxiety, but it's a beautiful anxiety. When we think about the past as being something that's fixed and hardened, then that takes away our flow of being able to see more of the beauty, because we're looking at it with our pain. We're looking at it from our painful memories. Like I said a minute ago, I finally can see my father being a really good dad. After my parents divorced, he was always there. He was taking us on trips. He was spending time with us. He actually wanted to hear what we had to say. He never heard us again after that. And it was nice. It was really nice. And the nicest part was that I could pull that memory out of it. So I want to talk about how we can protect and savor and create some new memories. Think about things that you like to do. Think about things your partner likes to do. And if you don't have a partner and it's just you, find things that you enjoy doing for yourself and begin to do those. And the more that you create something that's substantial for your individuality, the more you're able to heal the memories of the past, because then you've become your own crusader for your life, because no one else is going to be the leading man or woman in your life but you. So it's up to you to write your own story.
Yeah, and, she was talking about how the past is fixed in place. The way I look at it is like, it's like, look at this. Every single memory, every single event in the past is a string. Now, that string is fixed in place. You won't be able to change the position of that string, but you can change the tone. You can change how it vibrates. You can change the music it makes. Then you can also add stuff onto it. So, like, she had memories that, good memories of her father and mother that she wasn't able to access until she changed the tone, the music of a string before it, and then that uncovered, because then it connected to something else, which became like a song almost. And these other things, they only belong in this song. If you're playing a song that's on a different vibration, you're not going to be able to access because you're going to be going in a different way. And she didn't go and say, oh, this didn't happen, or try to change the memory. She didn't. She changed the vibration, and she made a new music. And that's what we can do. And keep that in mind, And so you have that power. You have that choice. You can change the vibration.
And it's such a beautiful thing when that happens, because if we think about it, what keeps us feeling those feelings of love and happiness, towards people around us or people that have passed on, it's our memories of those things. And a lot of times mixed in with that are sad or guilt-ridden memories because of things we didn't do or didn't say, or things that they did that hurt us. And if we can focus, first, I want to make sure we understand, we don't just wash away the past. Like, those things need to be healed in your memory banks. Like, those things need to be healed for you. You work through those, talk through those, do what you need to do to work through those so you're healed of those particular memories, those particular pains or abuses, whatever it can be, and then you begin to build the new ones. But as while you're healing, you can begin to build the new ones. You don't want to just wipe them out. You don't want to numb yourself to it, because the emotions that are attached to a lot of those memories teach you things that you need to know. And if it's something that you need to write down and try to understand, then that's beneficial. For us, oh, wow. I'm always thinking of things that we can do. Sometimes even going to the mall and walking around can be a beautiful memory, but it's the things that really make a poignant difference. It could be something as simple as seeing a man coming up an escalator carrying a bouquet of flowers.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be ostentatious. It doesn't have to be spectacular to have an impact. If it has meaning, it's going to have impact. And that's really what determines what sticks with you or not. God, there's so many of them, like, they run through my head now. And I never really had that. Like, it's been a huge thing my whole life to work on regaining memories. There's so much of my life where I've spent so much time working or thinking inside myself trying to fix things that I wasn't paying attention to what was going on. I was changing so much that my anchors were changing, so then it wouldn't be able to hold all the story together. And I'm going through my past now, and I'm facing all these pains. I'm opening up these Pandora's boxes and going through everything that happens and processing it so I can find those beautiful threads, the ones that make the music that I want. So I'm making sure, piece by piece, string by string, I'm changing the vibration of everything I can find in my past, which then uncovers more beautiful things so I can have the song that I want that really means something to me. And you do the same.
Yeah. Well, like, for instance, our wedding in Ireland, the most magical, just standing there getting ready to walk into the circle where you were. I was standing next to the two tall standing stones, and I had been listening to John Denver's Eagle and Hawk, which is a very powerful shamanic song for me, and I was thanking my ancestors, and I was crying. The wedding hadn't even started yet. I do not believe in waterproof mascara, apparently, so it didn't matter. I was just standing there twirling around in this big, beautiful green field that overlooked the city. It stands on a hill. And then Annie's song began. And I stopped between those two standing stones, and I just looked at him. Because in that moment, I wanted to be very conscious. I've heard so many times people that get married, you don't remember a thing.
Not for me.
I wanted to remember everything.
Yeah.
And I remember standing there and just looking at him. There's actually a few pictures of me standing there just looking. And I just was breathing in, and I was taking in, seeing him there, and feeling the culmination of my dreams of being married right in that moment. And then when I walked into the circle, I don't think we even said anything. I think we kissed, like, immediately.
Yeah, I was crying, too, so I didn't even want to cry.
There was no one there that was not crying, except for Andrew, because he was only 8 at the time.
I think some of the cows were crying, too.
Actually, that one big black cow was crying. She had that one coming out of her left eye. Remember, you tried feeding her a clump of grass.
Yeah, that she peed.
So, see, those simple, easy memories.
Yeah.
Oh, like floating down the Shenandoah River.
Yeah, rubbing your feet on the way.
Yeah, he gave me a foot massage all the way down. We were in tubes, and I found out I could pee constantly in that river. I was very happy.
The things that are precious there.
So there's silly, goofy, strange memories sometimes, but do they make you laugh? Do they make you feel happy? Do you feel joy? Do you feel love? And the most important person for you to feel love for is yourself. And do they cause you to feel love for yourself? Like, I think that was so powerful for me, was realizing I am a goofy little oddball. But I love every bit of my oddities because I'm so authentically me. Mm-hmm. And it makes me so happy to be accepted as myself.
Mm-hmm. You're perfect as you are. You're amazing. Yeah. You've always been enough, you know.
You're so sweet.
Oh, baby, you're beautiful.
We've got to focus on the radio.
Okay.
But that's the thing. Like, find the things that you can make happy for yourself. Like, how do you involve yourself with your memories? Do you think on things? Do you kind of go back into it? Do you process through them? Do you look at the different layers of the memories? Because every memory has got another layer under it, and under it, and under it, and around it. And what are you doing with your layers? What are you doing with your memories? What memories actually stick with you and mean something to you?
Yeah.
And they don't have to, like we were saying, they don't have to be the big things you were saying.
Well, because involving yourself with your memories, it's like, how do you relate to it? Are you running away from it? Are you fighting it? Are you ignoring it? Or are you embracing and communicating with it? Like, you know, everybody's heard the fight-flight response, you know. But above the fight-flight response is communication, is involvement, embracing. And the thing is, when you do that on a regular basis, you become more sensitive. When you run away, you become more numb. You don't feel as much. And when you don't feel as much, you don't retain as much memory. You lose the vividness. You lose the color. So that's why, like, these things, we enjoy the hell out of them. It means so much to us. It literally makes us who we are, these things inside us. And that's why we have no problem growing and going through incredible amounts of pain and stress in order to find that hope, that beautiful string at the end. Because we know that when we go through all that, it sucks sometimes, it's hard as hell, but we feel so much at the end about that beauty, and that's what stays with us. And that beauty and that feeling gets stored inside us in that high fidelity. You know, it stays with us, and then it adds on to this other thing, and this other thing, and this other thing, and it becomes a story. And before you know it, you turn around, and you're this vibrant, colorful person filled to the brim with memories and stories. And, God, I cannot even begin to describe what that's like, coming from a place where I was numb and I didn't have anything, and I felt like this hollow person with just a bunch of pain inside, until it came so much where enough was enough. And I was like, I'd rather have pain than numbness. And the thing is, I made that decision. I faced so much pain, but I don't just have pain now. I have so much beauty involved too. And I feel that beauty in such a bright color. And it gives me the passion, it gives me the feeling to love this woman like she deserves, and to create even more. And it just expands. And I want everybody to have that.
Well, see, and that's the thing. My bad memories that I've converted, but I still remember those, obviously. Mm-hmm. Those help me to see what an amazing man, lover, husband, partner, human that you are.
Same with you, yeah.
And it's incredible the way that it helps me to see you, because I know what the other looks like.
Yeah.
And so now I get to see this incredible dimpled man. He's got his cute little dimples. That just adores me, but isn't afraid to say, no, honey, we're not doing that. Or, no, honey, I'm not interested in that. You can go ahead on your own, which is completely fine. I don't understand why people think you have to do everything together. There are things that we enjoy together, that we make memories on our own individually, because back to the my world, your world, and our shared world, it's very important to have those individual memories and to have the shared memories. So that's what we're talking about in our last few minutes, is the shared memories and your individual memories. So let's try to help you think of some more ways to create some new memories. So, like, how does what memories you've had in the past, how does that affect what you choose to want in the future?
Oh, God. Well, like we were talking about before, like there's so many times where you think that you want something, and then when you do have it, it really doesn't mean that much. It doesn't leave much an impact. It doesn't have much meaning. And when you begin to have these memories and build them, the ones that actually do have meaning, you know what that feels like, and you know that you want it. You become sensitive to that. Because it's so, in this world, you have so many things distracting you, pulling you. Here, do this. This is a quick fix. Watch this show. Let me stimulate you. You know, here's some effects, whatever. And it's like you get rah, rah, rah. But at the end of the thing, you're like, what the hell did I just watch? Or what the hell did I just do? Nothing sticks with you.
Right. It wasn't a memory that was necessary.
It didn't have that meaning and
that
impact.
And that's the thing. You need some memories with an impact.
Yeah.
So what kind of memories would you like to have fill up your storybook of life?
Yeah.
And think of the things that really make you happy. For me, I enjoy really simple things. I don't need huge. Even in Europe, I stay with friends. I take the bus. I do really simple, grounded things that for me are beautiful and amazing, but they're not your typical Hollywood-style vacation.
It has intimacy.
Right. Because intimacy is what all of this is about. We've got the memories and the shared experience. That is intimacy.
Yeah, and the closeness.
There's things that he and I have shared together and he and I experienced together that we can't even begin to explain to others on the same level for them to understand. And so those are the things that it might be good for you to do, like play some games together, just spend some time talking, maybe talking about memories and what that means to you, regaining memories that have been lost and faded. And we've talked about that. Maybe giving them a fresh color, because we've all seen the black and white pictures, and they add just a little color, not crazy Ted Turner color. If people remember those days.
Be vulnerable.
Yeah.
If you want some color in your life, if you're doing the same thing over and over, what that means is you need to step out of your comfort zone, do something different, which means taking a risk, which means being vulnerable, which means thinking and sitting there and struggling a little bit to come up with something. Don't just do what comes easily because it's what you've done before over and over again. Take some time and hash it out, hammer it out. Think about what are some other things you can do. And even if you feel like, I don't know how I feel about it, you're going to get resistance because you're used to doing this other thing. Take that resistance and understand that this is just a little lock that I got to put a key in order to open the door, and it's going to feel completely different once I'm on the other side. You know,
I'm actually impressed. David just touched on something that did not trigger for me as I'm talking about memories. Is when I'm in Europe. Mm-hmm. And I lost the memory that fast. But it's the little things. It's getting out of my comfort zone. Mm-hmm. When I go, I travel by myself, and that was before I had friends there. Mm-hmm. And I would fly by myself. And I've talked about my past, and it wasn't easy. So I had to put myself out of my comfort zone. I didn't want to just keep living the same monotonous life that so many of my friends were doing. I wanted to feel something. I wanted to see something. I wanted to know there was more out there than what I had already seen. And so my first trip alone to Europe was in '99. I went to France for 2 weeks and didn't know anybody. Really, I don't speak the language, and had a fantastic time. Was I terrified? Yes. But did I come home talking about France constantly? Yes. Is it still one of my favorite memories? Yes. And that's been the thing. I've had to step out of my comfort zone. Leaving Georgia, going up to New York, I didn't know anything about Omega Institute. Had no idea who these people were. Had no idea what they were talking about when I first got there. And realized, this is everything that's been inside me all of my life, and everyone else thought I was crazy. But if I hadn't stepped out of my comfort zone and left everything I knew in Georgia and moved up to New York, upstate New York, I wouldn't be here right now talking to you. I would not be here right now sitting with David. I had to step out of that comfort zone to do that. And it was the same thing with meeting him. We had met online. Mm-hmm. I was down in Florida at this time doing my internship. I flew up to D.C. to meet him, terrified.
Me too.
He was shaking. But we stepped out. So I think that's the biggest takeaway, is stepping out of your comfort zone.
Yeah, because like we were saying, everything is a mirror. And if you're in the same environment with the same people and the same you're going to see the same stuff. You're going to see the same reflections. Step out. Go to a new environment. Put yourself in a position where you have to be a different you. And then you get to see a new reflection, a new angle of who you are, a new facet of who you are. Mm-hmm. You get to learn more about yourself.
And in the process, you're creating new memories.
Yeah.
And it's something you can do with a partner or without a partner.
And all at the same time. You do it as yourself. You do it with a couple. Mm-hmm. You do it everywhere you go.
Yeah. And as you do these things, these begin to create the fabric of your story and some new memories, and it gives you something to really hold on to. And in those moments where it feels dark or scary or anxious, you can look back at these healthy, good, loving memories and feel, okay, it's not always going to be this way. I'm not always going to feel dark. I'm not always going to feel alone. I'm not always going to feel scared. I'm not always going to feel like I have no love or protection or help or acceptance or anything, because you can tap in to one of your memories that you've created that show that is not true. You are loved. You are worthy. You are accepted. You are good, and it's going to be okay.
This is how you become a person of substance. This is how you become multidimensional. This is how you become more. Because every time you deal with something, you said, oh, I have evidence that I'm more. I have evidence that I've been through this or something like it, and I've gone through. And I have these things inside me that show that I can face this.
Yes. So let's get out there and start making some memories. There's so many things that we can do. There are absolutely walks in the woods. There's, making homemade ice cream. I keep saying I'm going to, and I'm not ready to step out of that comfort zone yet.
Doing a radio show together.
Yeah, doing a radio show together.
Anything.
Writing a little story together. Writing some erotica together.
Yeah.
I keep trying to get him to do that. He hasn't gotten around to doing that yet. There's so many different things that you can do to create things, and there's also the compromise. If your partner doesn't want to do something that you do, go do it. If you don't want to do something they want to do, let them go do it. But then there's the times where it's like, that's not going to kill me to go watch a football game.
Facing that resistance like we were talking about. And then you see on the other side, it wasn't that bad. God, how many shows have I started watching with this woman because I'm like, whatever, I'll give it a shot. And I'm like, this is funny. I'm watching freaking Lifetime with this woman. So
yeah, Lifetime and Hallmark, what can I say? As long as it's not the abusive husbands, I don't like those shows. So as we're ending our time today, we want to thank you for joining us for our anniversary special. We want to thank you for being a part of our love.
Yeah.
And
this new memory we're creating.
Yeah, this new memory. You're a part of our memory.
Yeah.
Oh, that's beautiful. I love that. And you can find David and I at skyeburns.com, SKYEBURNS.com, or you can find us on Facebook at Twin Flame Team, which will be Skye and David. And we really thank you so much for being a part of our memories and being a part of our life. Blessings.
Bye. Have a great night.